Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. We had an okay day with our bets yesterday. I went 2-1. Korea went 1-2. I guess we can just get right into the recap. Korea, what were your takeaways with how your bets went down yesterday?
Yeah, first off, let's go back to that. Let's go to the first one there. The Celtics minus 3.5. And look, that was looking pretty sweat free most of that first half. The Celtics got up to a big lead, and then here come the Knicks in the third quarter, kind of played like the Warriors a couple days ago. Kind of mounting that third quarter comeback. But then late, just how Kristaps Porzingis played in his Celtics debut kind of really played a big role en route to their first one of the season. They did cover the 3.5. It did get a little sweaty near the end with the Knicks trying to make it, a 2 or 3 point game, and then Peyton Pritchard at the line made two clutch three throws to make it a 4 point lead, and a defensive stand at the other end, gave us the Celtics minus 3.5 for the win there. So that was nice to see. Even though it was a little sweaty, a nice win to recap the night, and then the losses. Jordan Poole, man, I can't back this guy. I don't know why I did. I don't know what I was thinking backing him in this position, but I mean, I just thought that the Wizards were going to shoot a lot better on the road. Poole didn't make a three. They have no defense whatsoever. I mean, the Pacers put up 140 plus points on them, so it just shows you how bad this. I mean, it could be an overreaction because obviously it's only been one game, but we knew coming into the season that this Wizards team was going to be really bad this season. We didn't know how bad that they were going to be, and obviously it's only game one, but to start out, it's not looking really pretty for the Washington Wizards. We did get to see Kyle Kuzma kind of lead this team. He was their kind of main contributor throughout the entire game, and then Jordan Poole was kind of the secondary, but a really weak secondary at that. Only scoring 18 points, and then by the 6-minute mark, they pretty much all their starters were benched because they were down by 20, and they knew that the game was already over, and the Pacers easily would have won that game. So, but maybe it was a negative script, and then Jordan Poole shooting himself out of the game didn't help. So, we'll keep fading Jordan Poole for the rest of the year. And then Chet Holmgren, it was looking just like an absolute horrible pick throughout the first half. Only finished with 7. And, we were just hoping for some kind of action. And, then he started to get a couple more, and then he finished at 11. And, it's just a tough loss. But, at the same time, we didn't really know how they were going to use him in the offense. Obviously, it was still the SGA show. It always will be the SGA show down in OKC. And, we'll hopefully get to see a lot more of, involvement for Chet Holmgren. Maybe they just kind of ease him into it. This is his first game. And obviously, in a road environment, you would rather play your first home game in your home building. So, your first NBA game in your home building. So maybe that played a factor, a little bit of nerves there, because considering obviously he missed the whole entire season last year and, just came back to start this year. So, but we'll call it a 1-2 day. As I said, I'm not the greatest with NBA, but we'll take a 1-2 day to kind of start the opening day, even though, it's like I said, it's the beginning of the season. I've seen some people have a completely for whatever day yesterday. And you know what? It's the beginning of the season. There's still so much time left. But, like I said, tough loss on Chet Holmgren. Jordan Poole going for whatever from 3-point range didn't really help. And then great to see the Celtics get a clutch win on the road to silence the New York faithful in Madison Square Garden. Ari, let's recap yours. You did go 2-1. Fortunately, your Kings did get the win yesterday, pretty sweat-free. They were controlling that game throughout the game. Pretty much, they were controlling. They made the Jazz look a little silly, and then obviously the Mavs -4. That was looking very sweaty, pretty much throughout that whole entire game. The way is it Devin Vassell? I believe that's his name.
Vassell, yeah,
Vassell. Yeah, the way Devin Vassell really played, and Derek Lively. Derek Lively looked like more of the rookie of the year that everyone was talking about instead of Victor Wembanyama. I mean, Derek Lively had himself, a very great opening day. And, obviously the last loss for you was Victor Wembanyama, didn't really, he was getting in early foul trouble a lot. And, you can't really blame anyone in it, but it's his first game. It's a different way of play in the NBA. He's coming from overseas where, they got away with a lot of those calls and, stuff like that. But the NBA is a lot more, it's a stricter league, easier fouls and all that stuff. So tough to see Victor Wembanyama take go under that line for 23.5 points and rebounds. But all right, what are your takeaways from this 2-in-1 day yesterday? Obviously, to start the season, you can't really go say, oh, I'm the best guy in sports handicapping, but at the same time, you can take your positives. What did you like from yesterday after having the Kings easily went on the money line, the Mavericks, even though it was a little sweaty, covered the -4, but a tough loss in that same game, as you were mentioning, kind of conflicting with Victor Wembanyama's over 23.5 points and rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start off with the Kings. I did think it would be closer than that, closer than what it was, but obviously you're not going to complain about a blowout win in a close money line pick there. The Mavericks, like you said, it was sweaty for most of the game. I didn't expect the Mavericks to, blow the Spurs out. They don't have the defense to really blow anyone out. And that was really showing. I think the Spurs, they scored close to like 40 points in the first quarter, 35, 40, something like that. So, yeah, their defense is – they got a little bit better in the front court defensively, but all in all, they're still going to be in a lot of high-scoring games, all season. But I talked yesterday about how I thought, Luka and Kyrie could close it out, even if it is close and covered. And that's really what we saw with both of them hitting a bunch of, key shots in the final stretch of the fourth quarter, even when the Spurs took a 1-point lead with 5 minutes left. And then, Wembanyama, it was a combination of foul trouble, and it also seemed like he was being limited a little bit even before the foul trouble. I think he was taken out of the game within the first 5 minutes as well. And that was even before he got his second foul, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a combination, but we saw him, step up in the fourth quarter. So I think, I'm still confident in the bet. All in all, I think his minutes will, of course, go up as the season progresses, and we're going to see a lot of big games from him. We saw the flashes in his first game. And, just a combination of him being maybe a little bit limited, with some foul trouble, went to that. But obviously that plays into a win or loss, and you're going to get some bets like that go your way and some that don't go your way. So that's kind of, staying the course and part of the sports betting in general.
Yeah.
But obviously you take a positive day, any day of the week.
Yeah, obviously, you'll take a positive day. We both finished 3-3, so we'll take that as well. Maybe a little positive on the units in terms of unit size, but in terms of what you were saying, Ari, yeah, look, this is only game one for all these teams. Definitely a lot of adjustments were going to be made. And on all these lines, are definitely a little preset, just because you haven't really seen any of these teams play a real game. And now that we saw the first game, we're definitely going to see a lot more line movement, whether it's a spread in terms of a money line favorite. Player props and all that stuff. We're going to see a lot of, whether it's sharper or maybe a lot more looser lines, just because, we don't really know what's going on throughout the rest of the season. But, we're 3-3 day. We'll take that. Obviously, I went 1-2. Ari went 2-1 on the first day of the NBA. We're going to get into tonight's games in a little bit. There's only 2 games on the slate for the NBA, but we're going to get into the NFL, obviously, today, Thursday, which is Thursday Night Football, and there is a matchup in Tampa Bay versus the Buffalo Bills. These two teams coming off some games where they both lost. Two teams struggled offensively for the most part. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously, one of their main struggles is their run game. That's kind of been the kind of anchor in terms of, kind of moving their offense down the field. Can't really develop a run game. And that's kind of been the thing with this offensive line, ever since, all the injuries and, Ryan Jensen retiring and Brady retiring, this offensive line has taken many, many hits. And that's kind of been the reason as to why this Buccaneers offensive line can't really develop a run game. And, Rachaad White, he was supposed to have a big year, hasn't really developed into anything much if yet. And then for the Bills, obviously, they had a really bad loss, a game where they should have won that game against the Patriots on the road, just making messy turnovers, a lot of sloppy gameplay, kind of letting the Patriots kind of take control early and just having to play the chase game throughout that game. And now they both have a quick week, quick turnarounds. Both teams at least trying to be in contention and for their division still. The Bucs sit 3-3, I believe, after a tough loss to the leaders, which are the Atlanta Falcons at 4-3. And then you have the Bills at 4-3. sitting right behind the Dolphins at 5-2. So just two teams sitting right below that number one spot in each division. Ari, look, I want to talk to you about this game real quick. Both of these teams had really bad weeks last week in terms of the Bucs, just could not get any offense going against the Falcons. And then for the Bills, just another game where, whether you expect them to win or keep it, a game where it's closer, but they should win. And, they're already down 10-0, just after a blink of an eye. What do you expect in this game tonight between these two teams who definitely need to bounce back win after a tough loss the last week?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a weird season for the Bills overall between, obviously they had the weekend loss against the Jets, which they quickly bounced back from. And they won 3 in a row after that week one loss, including, the huge win over Miami where they blew them out basically. But then, then they had the loss in London against Jacksonville, which, you can kind of chalk it up, long travel, not the easiest opponent. I think wasn't that the Jaguars' second straight game in London, if I'm not mistaken. So they're already, accustomed to at the travel, the change and all that. But then, then they squeak out the win over the Giants, where the Giants are at the 1 yard line, the last play of the game. And then they come back. They're down 2 scores to the Patriots. They score 2 touchdowns, so they have to lead with 2 minutes left. And then, the Patriots, Mac Jones goes on the game-winning drive to win the game. So, obviously we're accustomed to the Bills being a Super Bowl contender and all that, but it's been kind of a super up and down season for the whole team. Josh Allen, they're banged up on the defensive side of the ball as well, which doesn't help. But then you have Tampa Bay, who their defense kind of kept them in a lot of games, but obviously their offense has not been, the most consistent either. Baker's had some decent games. They've had some big games from Mike Evans and Godwin and all that, but all in all, again, pretty underwhelming, overall. And then they had the tough loss against Atlanta last week that could have gone either way as well. But all in all, short week at home. We're both on the Bills in some way, which we'll get into with our best bets after this. But I think the Bills bounce back. I think like we saw when they lost in week 1 and then blew out the Raiders in week 2. I think that they pick up a pretty convincing win here at home on a short week. So we'll get into our best bets, but I think the Bills respond like we saw them do from week 1 to week 2 here tonight.
Yeah, as you said, we're going to get into our best bets for this Thursday night football game in a little bit here. But, as you mentioned, this Bills team this season, it's been very, up and down, as you mentioned, very sporadic, not really a consistent team. They look good one week, and then the next week they have, a game where you're shaking your head. This is the same Bills team that everyone said that was going to be a contender. And coming into this year, I thought that this Bills team was going to be overrated. So I'm glad that, my prediction about the Bills is looking great right now. But in terms of tonight, I do think the Bills do get it done as well. I think, in terms of the matchup, you have this Bills defensive line that can get to the quarterback, can apply pressure, and they're facing an offensive line that is pretty much depleted and has not really done a great job at protecting Baker. Obviously, Baker has been using his ground game as well, kind of scrambling out of the pocket, whether it's just evading pressure or whatnot, or maybe a trick play or whatever. It's kind of been a lot of scrambling for Baker, or just trying to find whether it's Mike Evans or Chris Godwin in the downfield, or maybe even a dump down pass to Rachaad White, which is a pick that I'm going to get into in a little bit. But I do like the Bills in this spot tonight. I do think that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are finally going to get them that offense really moving down the field. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. I feel like this Buffalo team, right, and we credit them for their offense, and how all with guys like Gabe Davis and obviously Stephon Diggs and the emergence of James Cook this year. I do not like him tonight, obviously, with the Buccaneers having one of the best the best run defenses in the league, obviously pretty much eliminating most of the run throughout the year. I do like the Bills in this spot. I just think Tampa Bay is coming off of a tough spot in a game where they should have won at home, and now you got to face a team at home 4 days later who is coming off of a bad loss where they should have won. I just think it's a tough spot where you can really back this Tampa Bay team at home. just with all the matchups. So I do like the Bills. And then obviously we have our best bets for this game. We can get right into those. I'm going to go first here. And all of mine are on the screen for the NBA as well. But I'll get into the NBA in a little bit. So I'm going to go each one by one for the NFL first. And I have Rachaad White over 21.5 receiving yards tonight. I would play it up to about 24. I don't know what the current line is at. I had it at 21.5. It was about minus 110, I believe, minus 115 on some of the sports books out there. And I feel like he's going to be, like I said, the reason that Baker is facing so much pressure up front is because his offensive line isn't as strong. And, that's kind of forced him to, just dump it down to Rachaad White many times and him just take it upfield. And last week we saw plenty of that. I believe Rachaad White had, I think, like 9 targets, 5 receptions for like 50-something yards. So just using him a lot more in terms of that short pass game. I feel like that's what Rachaad White is going to be used for today, especially against the Bills, who do love to bring pressure, as I said. And, this offensive line for the Bucs has not been strong. And, in terms of the run game, not really getting anywhere. Maybe a little short pass game, dump down to Rachaad White from Baker Mayfield and let him take it upfield for some yards. I do like his over receiving yards tonight at 21.5. And even though the Bills do not have that great a strong of a run game, I do just like Rachaad White to get over 21.5 receiving yards out of the backfield. And then this is a little bit of a different prop, but I have Gabe Davis. I have his longest reception, so this is a different one, not yards or anything like that. This is just one reception. We need one reception for Gabe Davis over 19.5 yards. So pretty much a 20-yard reception will do it for us. I've seen his line pretty much maybe around 18.5, 19.5. I'd play it up to about 19.5, maybe 20 as well. I just feel like, last week it wasn't 18.5 and there were so many opportunities and he only had 1 target for 6 yards. And we saw that Sunday night game and how, excuse me, that was the week before. We saw that last week game, they already were down 10-0 and, the Bills were trying to make a comeback. As Ari said, they were down 22-10 at one point and, their offense just could not get anything going. And he did have his fair share of targets. I believe Davis had 5 or 6 targets, but in that process, only managing 1 reception. But, in those targets, I don't know if you really care about them, but, those targets were mostly going to be deep ball targets. So, that's kind of a sign that, Gabe Davis is still being targeted on the deep ball. Maybe it was just a miscommunication or maybe just wasn't open at the time. So, but against a weaker secondary in the Buccaneers, I do like him to get a reception that's over 20 yards tonight. I feel like, in terms of the ground game for the Bills offense, it's not going to really get anything going just because of how, we talk about how the Buccaneers run defense has pretty much been the main reason as they're in these competitive games. But in terms of their secondary, it is a lot weaker. And, we've seen many teams before put up big numbers against the Buccaneers, whether it was St. Brown a few weeks ago or whatnot. I do like Gabe Davis tonight over 19.5 for his longest reception. If you cannot find this line, I also maybe would target his receiving yards as well. So I would, So I would go Gabe Davis over 19.5 yards for his longest reception. But if you cannot if you do not have that prop available, I would also maybe target his receiving yards just on the total for the over as well. And then for my final lean for the night, I like the Bills -9. I got it at 8.5, but the line has moved up to 9. And I just feel like this is going to be a good bounce back spot for the Bills. As Ari said, I'm personally not tailing this, but I would lean it just because I do think that this Buccaneers team can hit him with the backdoor cover. Because 8.5 points is a lot. You got to think to yourself, are the Bills really 8.5 points better than the Buccaneers? And right now, I don't think so. And the money line is just super juiced, and I don't want to even touch that as well. So if I was to pick a side, I would take the Bills, maybe at 8.5. I would maybe even consider at 9 just for that push potential. But I just think that this is going to be a good bounce back as a spot for the Bills, as already mentioned. That very sporadic week 1, just catastrophe against the Jets, but then they bounce back the following week against who forgot? I forgot. We played the Dolphins, I believe, in week 2, if I'm not mistaken, right? The Bills.
They beat the Raiders in week 2.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the Raiders. So, but yeah, I mean, I do expect the Bills to bounce back in the spot. They've had a very sporadic schedule, a lot of ups and downs for their season, but after two back-to-back disappointing games where the offense was kind of the main reason as to why they weren't really moving down the field at first when, obviously against the Giants in that low-scoring game. And then last week they were down by 2 scores and they made Mac Jones look like Tom Brady again. I do like the Bills at -8.5 as a lean, as 9 as well as a lean. But if you do want an actual play, what I am going to be playing, I am going to be teasing this down. If you guys don't know what a teaser is, for some sports books, if they have larger spreads, you can tease them down so a little bit of more odds in your favor. So I'm going to be teasing this Bills line from -8.5 to down to 2.5. And then I'm going to pair it up with the game on Monday, the Monday night game between the Lions and Raiders. And I'm tailing the Lions, tailing that from -8 all the way down to -2. The little 2-team teaser between the Bills and the Lions at -2.5 at -2. I think you can get it at -110 on some sports books. So that's what my official play is. But obviously, since that's a teaser, you have to pair it up with something. And my favorite would be the Lions as well. But if I had to add a lean, I do like the Bills at -9. That line has been moving up slowly since the beginning of the week. It pretty much stayed at 8.5 throughout this entire week, and now it's crept up to 9. So I think Vegas knows that the Bills are in this good bounce back spot for a reason. I do like the Bills tonight. Ari, what are your favorite props in terms of total, a side maybe, a winner? I mean, obviously it's going to be pretty one-sided, and I know you love your first half over-unders and spreads. What do you got cooking for this Thursday night football game before we get into the NBA slate for tonight?
Yeah, usually with these primetime games, I like the first half under, but I'm not betting against the Bills' offense in this one. I just like the Bills to cover the first half -5.5. I like them to cover the full game as well. I'm just a little bit more confident in them, getting out to a strong start in the first half and being up, 17-7, 13-6, something along those lines, at halftime. We talked, obviously multiple times about them being in a bounce back spot at home on a short week. And, that's where I'm kind of leaning here, except I'm just going more towards the strong start in the first half and avoiding, potential backdoor cover, like you said, with Tampa Bay. Maybe a last second field goal then cut down to 7, something like that. I mean, my lean is Bills to cover, also full game. I'm just a little more confident, in the first half, strong start. And then the prop for this game is Josh Allen over passing yards. You talked about how the Bucs run defense is stronger than their pass defense. I think they're top 10 in the league in rushing yards allowed per game, and then they're like bottom 7 in passing yards per game. So it's pretty simple as that. I think it's going to be a more pass-heavy game for the Bills and Josh Allen, just given the matchup and looking. After a tough loss last week, I think if they're going to come out with a convincing win to bounce back, it's going to be, on the back of Josh Allen and not the run game. So that's what I'm going for with this game tonight.
Yeah, I love it. I love the Bills' first half. I think I as well. I think they do get out to a good start. That's kind of what the Bills have kind of used to carry them to big wins, getting off to a good start, driving down the field, taking time off the clock. And I like the Bills to cover that first half spread at -5.5. And then you mentioned it right there. The Bills offense, the Bucs defense is top 10 in rush yards, but bottom 7 in pass yards allowed. So I feel that just kind of opens the opportunity for Josh Allen to go over his total at 263.5. And, Josh Allen's going to always sling the ball to Stephon Diggs. He's going to find him somewhere. And I do like his over as well. So I think that's a 5-0 card for Thursday Night Football. We have the Bills at -1.5. Bills at -5.5 for the first half. We have Josh Allen over his passing yards, which already got it at 263.5. I have the Rachaad White over 21.5 receiving yards. I have the Bills as a lean -9. I also have that teaser play that I did send out. And then the Gabe Davis prop, I have his long reception over 19.5 yards. I think that's a 5-0 card. I love it too. Now let's get into the NBA picks for tonight. Obviously, only 2 games on the card. Very slight card. 2 games are the Sixers and the Bucks making their season debuts, and then the Suns and Lakers making their home opener at the Staples Center. I'm not calling it the crypto, whatever that nonsense is. It's a Staples Center. But here are my plays for you. I only have 2 just because it's a very light card, and I don't really I don't really like the spreads. Those lines have been moving way too much. I just think these two teams win. I like the Bucks and the Lakers tonight. I think they just get it done at home. The Bucks right now, obviously, there's so much hype and momentum around them with Dame and Giannis coming in and all that stuff. And then with the Sixers, it's just been a circus all offseason with the whole James Harden situation. I'm going to get into that in a little bit with Maxey. And we all know the whole James Harden situation, potentially going to the Clippers or wherever his dream destination may be right now. And, that kind of plays a factor in just kind of the team chemistry right now. And, at first it looked like James Harden was going to go, but then now he's been saying he's staying. And, we never know we don't know what James Harden we're going to get what day. But in terms of a pick tonight, I do like the Bucks just to get the job done. I think Giannis and Dame are going to be introducing the world to a scary duo that the NBA does not want to face. I like the Bucks tonight. I think the line was at like -5.5 last I checked. Maybe it's grown, but I just like to take it simple. Bucks are winning tonight, and I'll pair that up with the Lakers on the money line as well. I think the Lakers do get the bounce back win at home. Even with, I believe Devin Booker and Bradley Beal are doubtful. I don't know if they're playing, but you never know. But even if they were playing, I would like the Suns to cover if they are playing, but if they aren't, I do like the Lakers just on the money line. I would also maybe lean the Suns to cover, but I just think the Lakers do get this win at the bounce back spot at home. We've seen the ups and downs of Anthony Davis, and last game was a down game for him. We saw that 17-point first half and then a silent second half, and then another bounce back game opportunity tonight. I feel like he definitely can, especially in a better matchup because, I feel like Tuesday, it was very Jokic defensive heavy because obviously Jokic more of a scorer. And, even though he does have that defensive presence, he is obviously more of a scorer. And obviously now for the Suns, it's more of Nurkic. And so he can focus more on his offensive play, getting in the post and, finding some good shots instead of, trying to figure out how to stop Jokic defensively. So I do like the matchup better for Anthony Davis as well, even though I'm not tailing his points tonight. I do like, this whole offensive scheme, just better fits the Lakers tonight on for a win against at home as well in a bounce back spot against the Suns, even with potentially Bradley Beal and Devin Booker out. I do like those a little two-leg parlay tonight because obviously those odds are going to be a little juice and maybe just a little sprinkle. So I'm probably putting half a unit on that Bucks and Lakers parlay. But my play of the night in terms of a player prop is Tyrese Maxey. I like his over 26.5 points and assists tonight. And this goes back to what I was talking about James Harden. He's been, so pretty much absent in terms of training camp and, the preseason and just being with the Sixers in general. This kind of opens the door for Tyrese Maxey. Nick Nurse now the head coach for the Sixers team. And, he likes to let his guys play, whether it was Fred VanVleet, who they pretty much played to the ground last year, or, Siakam as well before he's been up and down with injured, Barnes as well last year. I feel like Tyrese Maxey is going to get his playing time tonight, especially with this whole James Harden situation. And I like him for 26.5 points and assists, kind of just feeding Joel Embiid inside and kind of using that pick and roll that they like to use as well, or maybe just, spotting up to find Tyrese Maxey open, or maybe him driving into the hole, or when he drives, passes it out and finds a good shot, and that's kind of what Tyrese Maxey does. He's kind of taking over that lead role point guard position now for the Sixers. And obviously they do have Patrick Beverley behind him, as a nice little safety blanket but obviously he's more defensive. So we know why he's going to be coming in for the game, just kind of, to relax the Bucks scoring. But offensively, I do like Tyrese Maxey over his 26.5 points and assists tonight. And that is my player prop to player with the Bucks and Lakers parlay on the money lines. Ari, we saw a little bit going back to your best bets tonight. What do you like in this two-piece in the NBA between the Sixers and Bucks and the Suns and Lakers?
Yeah, I wasn't aware until you said that Booker was doubtful. So I was originally Suns +6, but I wound up changing it because of that. So thanks for that heads up. But yeah, I'm just going to go with the Bucks first half. Like you said, you talked about the Bucks full game. I'm just going to go off them getting off to a strong start. In their home opener, led by obviously the new duo of Lillard and Giannis. I'm sure the crowd will be loud, hype. And then, obviously Phillies without Harden, they're still going to be good, with Embiid, Maxey, Tobias Harris, and all of them. But I think the Bucks can cover the first half -3.5 at home. Led by, like I said, the new duo of Lillard and Giannis. And then I'm sticking with my prop of Yusuf Nurkic over 25.5 PRA. He had 31 in the first game, 14, 14, and 3. He's going to be a double-double threat every game. And it's possible, with Booker and Beal both out, he's utilized a little bit more down low, in the post as a scorer potentially. But I mean, the reason why I like this the most is I just don't think it's going to be this low for very long. I think it's going to be more 27, 28, 29, in the near future. So I'm kind of taking advantage of the line where it's at because, like I said, I think he's a double-double threat, on a nightly basis. So that's at least 10 and 10 and potentially, 14 and 12, and somewhere around there. And then he's a pretty good passer, for a big man as well, down low, passing out. So I think he's good for anywhere between 2 to 4 assists on the night as well. So, getting this at even money, I think is really, really good value for Nurkic, who's, going to be a double threat and is also a pretty good passer as well.
Yeah, I do like the Bucks to get up to a good start in the first half as well. And just a little information, that Devin Booker news, I think they're saying he's doubtful, but I think DraftKings has taken his props pretty much off the board right now, so that's kind of leaning to him being out or doubtful. So we're not saying that he's officially out because there has been no word yet. Obviously, the NBA they like to go a little more toward the game time. So, but for right now, it's kind of leaning that he's out. But back to your point, Ari. Anyway, I do like the Bucks in the first half. We get to see the exciting new duo of Dame and Giannis, and everyone has been talking about how they're going to look, and we finally get to see it now with Middleton as that kind of trio up in Milwaukee. I like them to cover that first half as well, -3.5, and then Yusuf Nurkic as well. I do like him as you mentioned. He was kind of the man inside against the Suns. For the Warriors, for the Suns against the Warriors. Excuse me. Back on Tuesday, kind of being that inside threat. Last year, Aiden was obviously grabbing all the boards and, kind of just leading more of an offensive guy. And now with Nurkic in there, I do like his 25.5 PRA. He did get, I believe it was like a couple, I think 2 or 3. And I believe that was one you were thinking of targeting back on Tuesday, his over assists. So, why not do the whole thing? He's been a big help inside, and especially for this Lakers team who, want to focus more on Anthony Davis being more of an offensive threat. They're not really going to probably have him Nurkic matched up with Davis because, they probably get each one of them foul trouble. So I do like Nurkic as well over his 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So another 5-0, another 4-0 card, hopefully 5-0 with the parlay. I do like the Bucks through the first half. I like Nurkic's over PRA, and then back to my little Bucks and Lakers parlay, and then Tyrese Maxey over 26.5 points and assists. I think that's a 4-0, 5-0 card for you, Ari. I don't know about you, but that's going to do it for AKP Sports Talk for now. Obviously, tomorrow we will be coming back with another video. We're going to be previewing the first game of the World Series. Obviously, first pitch tomorrow. We have our matchup set between the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. We're going to give you guys our best bets for that. And then obviously the big weekend coming up, college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. We're going to be giving you guys some of our best bets heading into the weekend as well. So look for that as well tomorrow. So that is Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys tomorrow for our preview of the World Series and our best bets for the weekend. See you guys tomorrow.